to order. We respectfully acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional and ancestral lands of the Coast Salish people. Before we begin, I have a motion that the Board of Education designates the Assistant Secretary Treasurer Karen Blow to perform the duties of Secretary Treasurer at the open board meeting of October 4th, 2016. May I have a second? Trustee Schmidt. All in favor? Motion is carried. Motion to adopt the.
Madam Chair, do we have to do that every time the Secretary Treasurer's away?
I believe so. Yes. It takes 2 seconds. Okay. I have a motion to adopt the agenda. Trustee Schmidt. Second by Trustee Dorman. All in favor? Motion to adopt the minutes of the September 6th open meeting. Motion. Trustee Dorman. Seconded Trustee Schmidt. All in favor? Motion adopt the minutes of the September 27th special open board meeting. Trustee Croft, seconded by Trustee Dorman. All in favor? Report the closed meeting.
Thank you. We met at 3:30 for a closed meeting where we discussed personnel and property updates.
Moving on to the action list. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, moving on. Yes, sorry.
What is the nature of the transportation review? And are the trustees going to be involved in that, or is that totally a staff function?
Madam Chair, if I may. The transportation review came out of the budget process last year, where the board wanted a deeper conversation around our transportation processes, practices, routes, scheduling, all those kinds of things. So it will certainly be a public process, and can't imagine trustees not being involved in that.
Any further questions or discussion? Moving on, World Teacher Day. Tomorrow is World Teacher Day, and I know I speak for all of us when I would like to say thank you to all of our teachers for everything you do for kids in our schools. And to use a quote from a little while ago, you put kids first every day. Thank you. Next steps, area issues. I'm going to ask the superintendent to give a brief overview, and then I have perhaps a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you know, we talked about in the previous month's meeting some of the issues we were having on this site in particular, but also for our students potentially walking back and forth between Cal High and Quamitchin campus. Around the homelessness and basically the drug paraphernalia that we were finding around. I'm happy to say that has improved significantly since school began. As you know, we acted in September really with an abundance of caution for our students. We made sure that we had full-time supervision on the walk for students between Quam campus and James Street campus. We checked with the supervisors continually. They reported no interactions with people we wouldn't want interacting with our young folks as they're walking back and forth. We've been keeping close tabs on the drug paraphernalia that we found on these grounds. Thanks to Mr. Grove and his staff for their morning sweeps. They've been sweeping the grounds every morning and are finding less and less and less. In fact, I know that some days there's nothing that they're finding in terms of needles or whatever. We've also been having conversations with Warmland, et cetera, and feel really confident in saying that our students are safe as they move between the two buildings. As you know, we also fenced the back property of Cowichan Secondary School, where there had been some people gathering in the evenings, where it's out of sight and dry. That fencing has worked like a charm, and those areas are clean in the mornings and suitable for students. So our response at the moment is we have stepped back a little bit with our supervision so that we no longer have someone full-time walking back and forth on the road between Cowhigh and Quam, but have kept that extra supervision there at lunch hours when there's significant numbers of kids moving back and forth.
I came down and did the walk over a lunch hour, and I certainly agree with you, and I thought the supervisors were very astute. They knew exactly why they were there and what they were looking for, and one gal really knows the neighborhood very well. Also, Candace and Kathy and I took a walk along the dike to see what we could see, and certainly, like, no garbage, nothing on the school side of the dike, but you know, you want to be careful on the other side. There's lots of little cubby holes and paths and stuff where we saw signs of folks hanging out, I guess would be the best way to say it. But I did have a question regarding, I think it's our property, the far west side of the property, and there are the sort of the concrete barriers where it looks like sand and gravel and stuff would have been, and that's been moved inside. But those barriers still to me look like little hiding holes where people could get up to stuff. Any thoughts on
Yes, we move the materials
Yeah.
inside the compound where we can maintain their cleanliness and
Yes.
suitability for use in our schools, but just haven't got to the place yet of removing those
they'll
those
probably,
big blocks.
so they're probably going to go?
That's our intent.
Okay, thank you very much.
I personally, my conversation with the superintendent and with the chair is that people who we are talking about, a lot of them, or many of them, may be school age, and while it's not perhaps the school district's problem in the sense that they're not causing it is an issue for our community, and I would like to have a motion that we request staff to contact various community partners to meet the homeless issue, and that the purpose be to develop some systems and to help these people and to move forward. The community partners could and should include the City of Duncan, North Cowichan, CDRD, MCF, DRCMP, and Warmland, and any other community organization staff feels should be involved. So moved. I need a second. I would like to say that the reason I think that somebody needs to step up here, and I think we're going to have to. We are told that these are young people, school age, a lot of them, and the fact that they are not attending school, that they are at risk in the community. I think we need to get people together and say, how can we help? What can we do?
Trustee Croft, Trustee Spilsbury and I, when we took our little stroll, we actually talked about what kind of accountability can we ask those ministries when it comes to those kids that should be in our buildings. You know, how can we support getting them back into our buildings and so on and so forth, and that maybe communication could be better there as far as that, and that way maybe that is our part of support, because a lot of these homeless kids are and should be in our buildings during the day. And so thank you very much for bringing this motion to the table.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Conference attendance. There was, Trustee Spilsbury sent an email out to everybody and asked for information back, and I believe you've all got the report in your package. I can tell you that at the Vista conference, they asked how many people were going, and I think it was 5. So it's not going to be well attended by trustees. There's a recommendation from Trustee Spilsbury that the Board of Education develop a policy statement on trustee attendance at conferences and add a statement to policy 1001, role of the board, number 7, board development. And looking at, I don't know what you want to do with this. I seriously don't. Conversation that I had the other day with the superintendent, this isn't a school-based kind of forum. It's huge, right? And perhaps there's some reasons for some of us to attend, or one of us, or two of us, but I don't, personally, it's really expensive, and I'm not sure what you want to do, so can I have some conversation? Yes.
This is a sweeping statement for all conferences, trustee attendance at conferences. So this is a sweeping statement across. I do understand what the board chair is looking to do here. However, there's a lot of pro-D stuff, and if we're saying that one or two trustees go and that's it, then I don't know, in some cases I think that that's wrong. I think that as a board, we learn as a whole, and word of mouth, everybody interprets things differently, so I'd be a little bit concerned about what that would look like. I know that this has been tried before at this table, limiting trustees to attend conferences, and it did create quite a bit of a stir and a sense of dis-ease within the board. So I'd be a little bit concerned about that. I just think that, as trustees attend conferences, if not everybody can, the full report out on what happened and so on and so forth is great. And I don't understand why we would need a policy statement on something that we've been doing for so many years without. So I'm not really sure where I'm gonna sit on this one.
Well, just because we did it in the past, without a policy. So, I'm sorry, I thought the recommendation was sound, because we have no policy. We have a practice that everybody's got to go together and nobody goes at all. So, somewhere along the line, there wasn't a full discussion of that. So, to me, I thought the recommendation from the chair was appropriate. In the lack of a policy, I know talking to an Anamo school board member that they're sending one, and Stephanie Higginson, the director from BCSTA, was at the Kootenai, and each, I don't know how many boards are in the Kootenai area association, but every one of those boards is sending one person to run forward. So I don't think the chair is speaking to any conference here. I think because we're all over the map in terms of our findings, that it's the time we developed a policy. So I like to move the motion. I think it's a good motion. And I know that we have a really good policy writer in here.
Not gonna get out of it, Kathy.
Do you have a seconder for that motion? Seconded by trustee Collins. Any further discussion? Yes.
And I'm not suggesting that moving this, it's just creating a policy. I don't know the outcome of the policy because it's not written, and the chair did not allude to what she would prefer, but that will come in time. And hopefully if there's one person that is able to represent us running forward, it may be made before that conference happens in December, but it may not be.
Any further discussion? Yes.
I think the motion leaves it really wide open for us to perhaps leave some wiggle room in the final policy. I see policies as, very generically speaking, having two purposes. One is to keep a board on the straight and narrow and keep the system functioning. But the second function is that you don't have to revisit every decision every time and look at every. So I guess what I'm saying is that the policy may be more offer some guidance as to when we need a second look at conference attendance and when we just go and it doesn't end up at the board table every time, which is why I support it.
Any further discussion? Call the motion. All those in favor? Motion carries.
We're very passionate, trustee.
Oh,
Oh,
superintendent. Over to you.
Madam Chair, I don't think I'll be able to talk that debate. Thank you, Madam Chair. Action-packed September in our district. It seems like a lot has transpired since we last met because our previous board meeting was on the first day of school, with the way the calendar rolled out. So lots has transpired. Start with some of the sort of around the district highlights. The Cops for Cancer has been happening today and tomorrow. A number of our schools are visited today and some tomorrow. Those include Chemainus, Lake Cowichan, Paulson, Drinkwater, Tanser, Maple Bay. Some students going so far as to shave their heads. Thank you for donating your child to that, Erica. Lots of activity and excitement in our schools around the Cops for Cancer tour. You'll notice outside some of our schools the peace flags that are out. You'll see them out by Quam, for example. And a number of our schools in Central Zone took part in a peace parade on September the 23rd. Students taking flags from one school to the other and trading them back and forth and so on, and then sort of parading them through the Central Zone, showing, giving kids an opportunity to connect with each other, to talk about those kinds of initiatives, and to sort of have sort of a bit of a lasting monument out there with the flags. So that was, I think, a pretty cool initiative. Friday, September the 30th was Orange Shirt Day. Orange shirts were worn on that day to recognize and honor and remember students who were in residential schools and survived that, and those who did not survive it. The orange shirt is a very visible and tangible reminder of that. And I can say anecdotally, as I was wearing my District 79 orange shirt in downtown Vancouver on the SkyTrain and in Victoria at the Ministry, our shirts were the envy of the other orange shirts wearers. So thank you to Denise and her folks and Stuart for the design, and they looked great. And so if we were looking for a money-making activity, we could be selling those orange shirts right now around the province because they look great. We have coming up Great BC Shakeout Day on October the 20th at 10:20 a.m. A number of our schools are signed up and participating. All schools are participating in earthquake drills, whether they're doing it on that exact day for various reasons. Not all are participating on that as part of that specific event. And we will be participating here at the board office as well. I'm not sure how you'll hide under a stand-up desk. Just walk under it, I guess. However, a number of our schools participating. We have Cole Cobble Hill, as you all know, it's been in the papers, so this is no news, but it's always a good chance to highlight. Was asked to sing their song "Simul Canada" for the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. Quite an event for them. They won the Lieutenant Governor Song Contest with this song last spring, and the Lieutenant Governor was so taken with them that this was a very early request of hers that they come in and sing for the royal couple. So an excellent event. The two teachers, Eric Desaulniers and Cicely Dami, were there, as well as the principal, Lise Paget. She's the one in the back looking for Justin Trudeau, who was not in attendance. And the kids did great. It was late on the Monday night at a very fancy black tie affair at Government House, and so just kudos to the students who represented us so well. Something they're going to remember for sure. And for the trustees' information, we have added that picture to your priorities document.
That's
So that
nice.
would be a
Sweet.
good one to have in there. George Bonner Elementary is hosting for the 4th year their Garden House Foundation, partnering with George Bonner Elementary School, giant charity used book sale, and that's coming up October the 15th and Sunday the 16th. Profits of that go to fund a variety of charities. Lastly, I'll mention in May, last spring, teens from all over Vancouver Island entered a creative writing contest called In Our Own Voice 2016. is the anthology that arose from that. And here you see a picture of SD 79 Seabolk student Rain Hankins, who had a short story published in this book that she is reading. So there will be a book launch and a reading at the Cowichan Library on October the 15th from 2 to 4. Again, pretty cool. Published author amongst us. Moving on, what else happened in September? Oh yeah, we opened school. So as we have discussed, we had a large number of students enter our district. We are still 1701, sort of our big data capture day was September 30th. However, we actually have until this Friday to clean all that data and make sure that we don't have duplicate students. And so that is happening madly as we speak next door. The smoke coming out of the building next door is Glenn and Sandra and Debbie and Karen and all the folks trying to madly clean that data. However, our numbers are where we anticipated them to be when I reported this to you in September. Haven't shifted significantly. Our projections are about right from September, which is we have over 7,600 students in our district this year. That's not so bad. And we're still fine-tuning that number based on the FTE calculations going on in secondary schools. So that's the adjustments that are happening there. And last year we were at 7,400. Giving you some round numbers, but give or take. The majority of the growth is at elementary, and the majority of that growth, as we reported last time, is in kindergarten to grade 3. So that's helpful long-term growth that we can see. That's young families moving into the valley, and so that's growth you can count on and predict, which is great. So I think that's standing us in good stead. And we'll have more exact numbers for you next time we meet, as the 1701 gets locked down, and we'll have more exact calculations. As a result of that, we've had to add staff, as you know. So that's been 8 full-time classroom teachers at elementary. We've added 8 divisions at elementary. At secondary, we've added 14 blocks to 2 FTE at Cowichan Secondary, as well as some additional time into our student support services, and some time into our to a career coordinator position that we'll be filling to help maintain our momentum in that area. It's also meant that we've had a number of students requiring other areas of support, increased support, and that we are looking at 28 EA positions to be adding. Some of those have already been added. Some of those we're in process of adding. We have, on the teacher side, we have really come to the end. I'm not sure that's the right term, but really emptied our teacher recall list for teachers that are available for full-time work. There's still some teachers on recall for small pieces at certain schools, but we've had to go out and hire outside. And same thing with EAs. We are struggling to keep up with hiring enough certified, qualified EAs for our students. So that's certainly a conversation we're having at this very moment as to how we move forward. So that's, but that's sort of a good place to be in, where we're starting to see growth and how we manage it.
Any
Questions on
Yes.
that?
Our superintendent recently paid a visit to the Aspen Institute and also to Harvard University. I was wondering if you could tell me about that.
Yes. Aspen Institute is not a weight loss clinic, as is obvious. Aspen Institute is sort of a think tank. It works out of Washington, D.C., and they meet mainly in the summers in Aspen. And so I was lucky enough to be invited to participate this summer on the topic of professional learning, teacher professional learning, and how we think about that. It's always a set number of people that are invited, and it's the number of people that sit around their round table. And I think it's 28 people, something like that. So there was 26 from the United States, one fellow from Australia, Ben Chenson, who's an author and writes a lot about professional learning, and me from BC to be the crazy person from Canada. Fabulous discussion and conversation about the future of professional learning and how we across the world are thinking about that. Made lots of contacts. Just later on, I'll talk about it now. Made some contacts with folks from Louisiana, the Department of Education, and so they will be sending a delegation up here on November 16th, 14th, and the 16th as a result of some of those conversations to see what we're doing in the Cowichan Valley and how we're thinking about transformation, how we're thinking about teachers interacting and students interacting with curriculum, and just how we sort of have got to a learning culture, which is the envy of much of the world. So they're coming as will some other guests, but Louisiana here first. For Harvard, again, I'm not quite sure how we got invited. It was lovely to work for 3 days at their Graduate School of Education with faculty and people from a few other jurisdictions. There was about, I think, 22 of us involved in that for 3 days. Someone from New Zealand, someone from Australia, South Korea, me from British Columbia, I'm missing one, and South Africa. Again, talking about learning transformation and how jurisdictions around the world are thinking about it. And what was comforting to hear from the faculty of education folks whose book we've all read. We have grown, those of us in the business, and if you're old like me, have grown up reading the books of a bunch of these people, and for them to say, we actually don't think we have any of the answers, we're not sure we got any of that right. We think UNBC might be the place that we need to be really looking hard at to see how we can get that right. It's kind of cool to hear that, and to hear folks like Finland, who, you know, that's the country I'm missing, Finland, saying similar things. It's comforting, terrifying, but really it's affirming, I think, for the work that we're doing across here. And one of the things that all the jurisdictions are fascinated about, and this came up in Aspen and in Harvard, was how do you do that with the diversity of the classrooms that we have, the diversity of our students, and how have we got to the, I don't know if anybody knows the answer, how have we got to the quality of the teachers that we have in this province? We have outstanding teachers, and how do we sort of how did we get to that place? So thank you for asking. That was some fun-filled times, and we have a couple of people from Harvard who are fascinated and wanting to come and do some work here in Cowichan, as well as do some work in British Columbia, to try to help us figure out why we are where we are on the world stage. So it was cool.
Any other?
I just wanted to commend our superintendent, Rod. We're fortunate that you are getting invited to these things for whatever mysterious reasons. I choose to think it's because you're good at what you do. And thank you for bringing that information back and sharing. If I could also just make a brief comment on the caliber of our teachers in BC, I would certainly agree. And I just want to say that I think that caliber and professionalism arises out of a very positive partnership with our teachers and the reunion. Thank you.
Moving on, a meeting with Minister Bernier. We, as you know, we were invited through North Cowichan to meet with Minister Bernier and to put forward our thinking on sort of the results of the PIR for the new Cowichan Secondary School. So first of all, thank you to North Cowichan for that opportunity. Candace Spilsbury began the conversation and carried the ball with the minister, and it was gratifying to see his interest. I have sat on both sides of those tables over the years, and genuine interest in the model and the plan and where we are in growth within Cowichan. It was also gratifying to hear ministry staff who are in the room really support us moving forward. Doesn't mean we're moving forward, it just means it was a very positive conversation. That ended up in Ms. Spilsbury and I being invited to continue with North Cowichan and go on to meet the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs and Reconciliation, as they were wanting to talk to him about some of our programming for our First Nations Aboriginal students, and also how that could be incorporated into the new Cowichan Secondary. So it was an opportunity to actually touch base with two ministers and sort of tell our Cowichan story, both about our Aboriginal First Nations learners as well as how that relates into a new Cowhigh and how that would benefit us all. So it's very positive. As you know, the PIR is in, and the PIR is in, along with our capital plan. The next steps that we talked to the minister about and to the assistant deputy minister there was that we'll be going, Jason and I will be going in and meeting with the ADM to, now that they have the plan, to have a face-to-face meeting about what our next steps are and how we're moving forward. So again, another opportunity to say thanks to Monroe and his staff, and Lonnie especially, for some absolutely brilliant work. It showed up very well. And if I'll just finish, just again to mention, Louisiana Department of Education is coming with 68 educators from both superintendents and I think a couple of principals from Louisiana, as well as some folks from Louisiana, just to see how we do business here and to really try to understand how we got to where we are, and for them to take back and think about how they could try to get to the same place again, how we focus on the learning needs of students, how we have the teachers that we have, how we can work and are working so collaboratively and collectively around learning, both in BC and especially in Cowichan.
Can I ask a question? Did you say 628 or 68?
628, sorry.
I'm
Six-
just- okay.
68. That's a lot of Louisiana.
Slow. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I'm happy to answer questions if there's.
Any other questions? Moving on to Secretary Treasurer, Personnel, the Board of Information.
I think that's me too.
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much. On page 14 of your agenda package is a briefing note about charitable donation branding, and this is for information. As part of the strategic priorities document, the school district, or the board is preparing, one of the sections, the governance section, identified establish a mechanism to encourage donations to the school district. So that's been identified as a priority. The school district is already a registered charity, and I put the amounts in the document there of what are our charitable donation receipts that were issued in the last 3 years, what the amounts were. Keeping in mind that a charitable donation receipt is only of value to you and I as individuals. So if Joe's Bicycle Shop contributes money, it's not of value to them to receive a charitable donation receipt. And sometimes they ask for one and we do offer it, but often they don't ask for one. So we know we receive way more donations than what we issue donation receipts for. So it's a measurement. About 10 to 20% of the donation receipts are for goods donated. The high schools receive vehicles, they receive lumber, an elementary school may receive a piano, so those are examples. What we've been looking into is developing an online solution so we can have a button on our website that says click here to make a donation, to encourage donations and to raise our profile as well as a charity. So I've been talking with other school districts, as has Secretary Treasurer as well, talking with other school districts. I've talked with our existing software providers, and if you just Google it, there's lots of solutions out there, and everybody wants to help us get our donations. Some of those entities will provide a donation receipt with our name and our charity number on it, which is a bit edgy, so I have to feel comfortable about that company. And some of them will charge a fee for this, and some of them only charge a fee if we're accepting charge cards or an electronic form of payment. So we're at that research stage of gathering information. And while I was looking into this, CanadaHelps.org lists every charity, so we're already on there. But it's not what do you call it? It's not managed right now, so I will be managing our profile once the strategic priority document is finalized. I'll be cutting and pasting a few great words out of that to enhance our profile on there. But you can make a donation through that website already to us. That's it for now. Any questions?
Any questions?
I understand why charity receipts are hugely valuable. Does the charity have anything to do with sponsorships, or are they done by the school? I mean, or do we do?
Tell me about sponsorships.
Well, sponsorship can be, I think a sponsorship can be considered a business expense, in which case it would be fully deductible. Is that right?
So
Do we have any devices in place for that?
to gather that information, I think
Gather
a lot of
that
it goes
money,
directly
actually.
to the school, and we don't necessarily know about it happening, and so yeah, we don't have that avenue unless they specifically ask for a charitable donation receipt. The only business that will ask for a charitable donation receipt is another charity. So United Way, if they give us money, or Royal Bank as a charity, for example, they require a proper donation receipt to prove to Remedy Canada that they've also gifted
Sure.
their donations to us.
Any other questions?
Oh, sorry, one more. Thank you. So when we send out a charitable receipt, are we sending a very nice thank you letter with it as well?
Do we know?
That's a really good question. I'll look into that. I'm not sure. I believe that the schools sometimes enclose a sort of a card saying thank you for your donation with the donation receipt, but I'm not sure that that's consistent practice. I'll look into that. Thanks. That's a good suggestion.
Board action, do you have nothing?
I do have something. Sorry, the transportation.
Transportation.
Sorry. Transportation update. Thank you. And if I could ask the Director of Operation Monroe Grove to speak to that. Thank you.
My pleasure to report to you on behalf of our transportation department. 2013, when we started to collect fees for service, about every May I would meet with the transportation supervisor and we'd say, okay, next year is going to be the year that we make this happen, and it would go on and on. So last year we met and we, next year is going to be the year, and then in August we all know what happened and fees were removed, which is great. And the general consensus from parents that have been coming in to register their students, it's really good news. So, so just a very brief update as to where we are. We currently have 31 buses on the road, scattered out throughout the district. We do have 2 brand new buses that are in Vancouver that we expect to take delivery of next week, which is fabulous news. Currently this year we have 3,142 students registered, which is up from 2,896 from last year. We do expect that there are still some more to come in, so our projections are somewhere around the 3,300 to 3,400 students. So it's a significant increase of students riding our buses. To this point, and this is kind of a weather-corrected type of a number, but at this point, because of the fairer weather, we haven't experienced any major overloads. We have some buses that are very full, but as we head into the more inclement weather, we are expecting to see maybe some possible overloads on those buses, primarily at the secondary level. We can only fit 56 students per bus on those buses, and so that does create some pressures. Tom and his staff have been great at making adjustments on the fly to, this bus has a little bit more room, so they can make those adjustments to the routes. So although we are running efficiently right now. We're kind of preparing for a little bit of an increase in those, and a little more pressure on those routes. And that's, well, and then he's got here, the largest increase in ridership tends to be in for those secondary students that are riding within catchment areas. So maybe something as we embark upon the transportation review might be one of the key points that we want to look at for releasing that pressure. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. The two brand new buses, are they expanding our fleet or replacing?
They are replacement buses, yeah. So they were submitted in last year's capital plan, and so they will be replacement buses.
Trustee Schmidt?
Thank you, Monroe. With the 2,896 student riders last year and then 3,142 this year, have we had to add buses to that?
No, we're currently, it's just an increase that has filled up the buses to this point.
So if you're suggesting that we may get between 33 and 3,300 and 30, yeah, is that gonna?
There is still a little bit of room if we can, and how we work it is if we can relieve a little bit of pressure on this bus by rerouting another bus to enter into an area. That's typically how we will try to accommodate. The two new buses coming in will create two more spare buses that we can use in our fleet to, if we do have those pressures. We are able to also apply for additional funding for new buses, but there's about a 12 to 14 week delay in receiving anything new on top of getting the approval from the ministry to make those purchases. So we're really, the capacity with what we have right now should accommodate. There are some areas that we do go into though, however, that are, you just can't send another bus in to pick those ones up. So we're trying very hard to get the students to school on time within a certain window so that we have, we're not facing challenges with supervision at the school level and things like that. But one of the areas, like I mentioned, with the students riding within catchment areas, within walk limits, might be one of those first areas that we will have to seriously look at if we reach those pressures.
Any other questions? Mr. Crawford?
Thank you. So when buses do get held out, is the school notified so that the teachers and the principal know these kids will be coming late?
Yeah. And Tom will tweet if there are other delays, whether it's trees down or accidents or anything. But, yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
That's,
Thank you.
Looking at committees and outside organizations. Minutes of the DPAC meeting.
that the Board of Education receives the minutes of the May 19th, 2016 DPAC meeting. So moved.
Seconder. Trustee Croft. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next one.
The Board of Education receives the minutes of the June 21st, 2016 Board of Education and Business Committee meeting.
Seconder. Trustee Schmidt. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next motion.
And I'm going to defer this to Trustee Smith because she did all the grunt work on this initiative. So she got the pleasure of introducing.
Thank you, Trustee Hutchins. That the Board of Education delete policies outlined in the 2016 Policy Manual Review Schedule A deletions. So moved.
Seconder. Trustee Croft.
Is that with great pleasure?
That was. All in favor? Carried. Next motion.
That the Board of Education force policies outlined in 2016 Policy Manual Review Schedule B revisions needed to staff for revision and then forward the revised policies to the Advisory Committee for review.
Seconder. Trustee Dorman. All in favor? Carried.
Can I say something before we move on? Please.
I just would like to say thank you to the Secretary Treasurer and Gina publicly for all of the work that we did as a group. It was a lot of thought went into everything that we did. A lot of things were weighed, and I just wanted to acknowledge them for all of the work they did to make that possible, so thank you.
Thank you. Vista Conference, you all received the combination of my report and Trustee Spilsbury's report. I think the thing I'd like to point out is the buildings there were amazing. The new high school, both of them. I didn't get to see Belmont, but certainly the second day they're fantastic. And, I know that Trustee Dolman was raving about gymnasiums. Any further comments about that? Okay, upcoming meetings and events, you all have the schedule. Please note that there's a change in that we now have our in-service on the 20th of the 13th, is that right? Hope it does go to this. Correspondence, motion to,
I'm sorry, so the board planning session on the 13th.
has been moved to the 20th, the Thursday the following week. You get to see us two times. I have a motion, a mover please, for that we receive and file the following correspondence. Trustee Schmidt, seconded. Trustee Dolman. All in favor? Carried. There's no new business, and we are at question period. Any questions? Yes.
I was interested in hearing a little bit more about this business of having to hire so much extra staff. Boy, it's been a long time since we've heard this. This is kind of new territory.
We're out of funding protection, so now that we have these extra students, we can actually hire the staff and not have to spin things around. So, yeah.
Is that part of it?
Oh, it is. It is deep. It's deep.
So this is why you've been waiting to get out of funding
Oh,
protection?
yes.
I just wondered why all of a sudden we seem to be hearing this gleeful news. And it's, this is part of it.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Yes.
Now you're actually having to look around to find people outside of your usual catchment group to, that's exciting to hear.
It is.
So I just thought, wow, all of a sudden we're hearing this stuff, but I have to ask if there was any other reason, and that's it. Great, thank you very much.
Oh, look. Any other questions? Seeing none, motion to adjourn. Trustee Schmidt. Trustee Dolman, all in favor? Thank you.